Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Scar. Today is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, and we'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. As a reminder, our call-in number is 1-971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak. Again, pressing *6. It is very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. We'll start with the Board of Commissioners roll call. Commissioner Bell.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Commissioner Fournier.
Good morning as well.
Good morning. Okay. Adventist Health Tillamook is unavailable this morning, so we will start with our Coastal Caucus. And I know that I heard Senator Weber with us this morning. So Senator Weber, please kick us off.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm in my office in Salem, and I actually saw the sunshine.
Woo!
What a revelation! Of course, there's clouds all around, but it sure was nice. Busy days, busy weeks. Today is a floor day, and we will be addressing two bills this morning. One is Senate Bill 450, which is the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. It's going to be declared for November 14th. And the other one is Senate Bill 890, which extends the time by 5 years that the Sunshine Committee, which I had no idea that there really was a Sunshine Committee, must complete a review of all existing exemptions to public laws, and it requires them to report to judiciary. So that's going to be interesting to hear all of the discussion concerning that. Like I said, here we are on a sunshiny morning, and we're going to be discussing the Sunshine Committee. Very interesting. We have had a lot of reports in the Transportation Committee, which are very interesting because yesterday we learned of the $1 billion deficit that ODOT is facing. They have known about this for some time, and we have heard numerous rumors about it, but we actually had never had a full report on it. And so now that we have that information, we're going to be delving deeper into it. Our meetings are going to be have a extended time for the next several weeks. We're going to be going from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock on Mondays and Tuesdays. If you would like to find out what's going on in those meetings, you know that you are always welcome to tune in through OLIS to be able to join in and hear what's going on. And you can also go to OLIS and you can find out the recordings of other meetings and watch them too. So, if you are interested, and Bonamici and Merkley were here this weekend, and it was good to hear them say what I always say, and that is stay informed and ask questions, and your legislators are there to answer them. And so you have the ability to express what you are thinking to them also. So it was good to hear that. It was good to see as many people turn out as did. According to the Headlight Herald, I guess there were about 450 people there. And I think that expresses a level of concern that we all have for what is happening politically in our state and in our country. And something else I was going to ask about, county commissioners. I've been getting questions about the status of the cell tower up Highway 6. Do you have any information for me? If you do, I sure would appreciate it because, we had a series of meetings. I thought we reached an agreement. I thought we were looking at possible construction time, and with the weather and the highway and everything, it would be really good to be able to tell people exactly what's happening with that cell tower. So if you have any information, I'd appreciate hearing what the status is. The other thing I wanted to just congratulate all of the recipients of the tourism awards this weekend. Very nice banquet. Good to see lots of people there. It's so rewarding to see all of the ideas and all of the hard work that goes into all of the activities that happen regarding tourism. All of the dollars that they bring to our community. We are working diligently, of course, to hopefully include emergency services in some of what tourism dollars can provide for us. And so we're continuing to work on that. And since I have another meeting that I have to get to very soon, I'm going to say, do you have any questions? Because I think I'm going to have to get going.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any questions for the Senator?
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
I would just like to, this is Commissioner Bell, I would just like to announce to the community that the Tillamook Bay Community College voted to add Senator Weber to our college board. So we are thrilled to welcome Senator Weber to the Tillamook Bay Community College Board of Education. We were able to appoint her because another board member resigned who lives in Senator Weber's district. We are excited to work with her and deeply grateful that she's willing. We know how busy she is and what a champion of education she is, and retired educator, etc. Her resume is stellar, and we're really excited to work with her. So I just want to say publicly, thank you.
Thank you, because I am so honored to be chosen. And I am so looking forward to working, especially, our community colleges are so important to our economy, to our kids, to our whole area. And it's just an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Senator Weber before we let her run on to her next meeting? Okay, I will answer your question quickly about the cell tower with, I don't know anything at this point. I do have my Tillamook Lightwave meeting and I will check and see if anyone in that group knows anything. Last I had heard, it was just that the fiber has been laid up the canyon and now things will start to come on board. But unfortunately, the cell phone companies don't have to communicate with us about that. But I will poke around and see if I can find anything.
Okay, and you know what? I'll poke the cell phone providers.
That would be wonderful. I think this is one where your level of influence exceeds mine and you might get more information than I do. So let's work together and figure it out.
Let's work together. Let's figure this out. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Senator. All right, we will move on. We have with us this morning, I believe, Ed Colson from Tillamook County Community Health Center. Good morning, Ed.
Oh, good morning, Commissioner. I just had to unmute there. And good morning, Tillamook County. For the health department, we just want to let everyone know influenza A is circulating widely in our community. If you haven't already, you can get your flu vaccine to help prevent the spread of influenza A and flu in general. Cover your coughs and sneezes. Wash your hands frequently. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth, and stay at home when you're sick. There is medication that can help lessen the effects of influenza, and to inquire about medication, contact your healthcare provider. Starting in March, people age 65 or older and individuals with weakened immune systems 6 months or older will be eligible to receive the 2024-25 COVID booster. People in these categories can receive the additional dose 6 months after receiving the initial dose of the 24-25 vaccine. We recommend patients to speak with their medical provider to see if getting the COVID vaccine is in their best interest, or you can give us a call at 503-842-3938. And then Tillamook County Community Health Center would like to thank those who came to participate in our recent vaccination clinic. Our staff cared for approximately 20 patients who took the opportunity to be vaccinated during the walk-in clinic. That's our health department update. I'll turn it back over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any questions for Ed? Okay, not hearing any. I'm going to give a moment to see if Gail from Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy is with us. I'm not seeing her typical phone number, and I know that North County, portions of it are still out of power, so I expect we may have a little bit of a skinny attendance from up north. Okay. So we will go ahead and move on. Tillamook Family Counseling Center is unavailable today, so we would move on to Randy Thorpe at our emergency management. Randy, I'm sure you've got all kinds of good information to share with us after the fun storm that we all had yesterday and last night that's still rolling a bit into today. So can you give us some updates? He's not unmuting. I'm wondering if he is multitasking. I'm going to guess he is multitasking. We will circle back to him. Oh,
Nope,
there he is.
nope. I couldn't find the screen because I am multitasking. I've got two open.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Well,
I gotta get rid of the echo here. Man, that's what happens when you multitask.
right?
You lose track of where you're at. Oh, I found the other screen.
Okay. And we're ready for you when you're ready for us.
Okay, now I think I'm back coherent again. Yeah,
Perfect.
it was a pretty eventful night. Had a really strong wind event. It lasted most of the night last night. Started, early in the afternoon, and then all of a sudden we started to get those really bad gusts. And most of the county was seeing gusts excessive of 60 miles an hour. Tillamook Airport clocked in at a 65. A personal weather station east of Tillamook had 70-mile-an-hour winds. Personal weather station Rockaway had 70, and in Manzanita, they were averaging 50 to 60. And then the Mount Nebo repeater also has a weather station, and they had gusts of about 50 miles an hour up there. So again, we had a lot of power outages. Our main one that's going on right now in North County that Commissioner Scar mentioned is due to the transmission lines coming into the county from Pacific Power. And unfortunately, Pacific Power has yet to give us an update on their estimated time of repairs. So as soon as they can get their repairs done, then Tillamook PUD can do their thing and get people back up and running again. But right now, they're waiting on Pacific Power to get those great big main transmission lines up and running. But there is power from Garibaldi South, got scattered, of course, outages. But up north, if you happen to live up north and don't want to drive clear to Tillamook to get a cup of coffee and a donut, the Fresh Food Market in Manzanita and the gas station are both open. They were smart enough to have backup generators for the businesses. So they're all up and running. In Rockaway Beach, they've opened their warming center, which is at the City Hall. And you can stop by there for some chat and warm cup of coffee and charge that cell phone that you forgot to charge last night before your power went out. So, and it looks like we're done with our wind event and everything else. Our rivers reached action stage again with both the Nehalem River and the Wilton River, but no flooding expected. So that's another good thing on that. And we're supposed to get into some good weather for the rest of the week. So, and what's really nice about this power outage, I guess there's a good point, is that temperatures didn't get below mid 40s last night in most areas. So that's kind of a plus to have, unlike our ice storm we had last year where it was very, very, very nippy. So, and I noticed I was getting a little bit of feedback on the number of mixed alerts that the National Weather Service was sending out, especially concerning their wind advisories. And I'm kind of glad they did send out quite a few because that wind advisory was right on. We did see significant damage from that, and they were sending those alerts out way before the wind started to pick up. So that would have given you enough time to make sure that cell phone's charged, make sure you got fuel in your vehicle, and don't forget the backup light sources. Remember to put that flashlight next to your desk or your bed, and make sure you have, a couple of days supply of food and water, and just get prepared for possibilities of power outages that go on. So, and I've also been noticing that a lot of the roadways out there do have down power lines on them and vegetation, trees and the like. So if you're out driving, just be very careful and be mindful that there could be debris on the road. And if you're going to be traveling our major highways, go on to Trip Check, and that'll tell you where those problem areas are throughout the state. So anyway, be safe today, and if you're without power out there, check on your neighbor. Make sure everybody's doing okay in your neighborhood. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Commissioner Stark.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate that. Any questions for Randy? Or other comments about the event?
Excuse me, Commissioner. I wanted to ask Randy if he'd like to talk about the fire in Rockaway Beach.
Oh, I was talking with Chief Hesse, and then he's on T-Mobile, and when he left the Wi-Fi from the firehouse, we lost connection because the T-Mobile's down. But he just started telling me that they responded to a fire at a church in Rockaway Beach last night, early this morning, and I guess it was pretty engulfed, but I didn't get any really big details on what happened there, but I know that there wasn't any injuries or deaths associated with it. Is the only thing I know for sure, and I'm not sure even which church it was. He didn't specify that. So if somebody from Rockaway Beach come on, maybe they can enlighten us a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't see the mayor. I don't see the mayor from Rockaway this morning for probably good reason. I know they, when they're out of power, their cell phone tower stops after an hour or so.
Right. Well, I'd like to just say thanks to Randy for being on top of this. He was messaging me last night and through this morning, letting me know what was going on, and setting up warming centers for people who are without power. And so I appreciate your work, Randy. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got great people to work for. It's I can do a one call, fix all thing type. So it's very nice to have those great cooperators out there in the county. And they also were calling in and giving me updates in their locations throughout the night.
Wonderful. Well, we do have an amazing network across Tillamook County. I think one of the things that while we all look at the Cascadia event, and it's a horrible thing to think about and to spend time, having to work through in your mind, what it's done is created a system by which we have a lot of people heavily engaged in emergency response. So when we have events like this one, there are, to your point, Commissioner Bell, warming centers that can be opened. People know who has a generator. I've been just kind of monitoring Facebook this morning, and that NCRD says we're here, we have coffee and donuts. There's a lot of just community resources in our many small communities. And so when we have an event like this, I think because of the focus that has been on Cascadia, we're prepared for things like this in a really good way as well. Okay, so thank you, Randy. Thank you, Commissioner Bell. Appreciate the emergency response of the county and all who support the county and their communities in this work. All right, we will move on to the Board of Commissioners. So Commissioner Bell, would you like to kick us off?
Sure, thank you. I was interested to hear what Senator Weber was talking about, the Sunshine Committee, and it reminded me, this is just kind of a funny story, of when I worked at the Headlight Herald, which was over 12, 13 years ago. The editor at the time, there's something called the Sunshine Law, and if Senator Weber, maybe next week, she'll tell us more about what went on in the committee, but there's something called the Sunshine Law, and the Sunshine Law makes local government processes transparent. So it's important. Everyone on this board is committed to it, but additionally, it's a law. So it's called the Sunshine Law, makes local government processes and information transparent. And when I was at the Headlight Herald, the editor at the time she filed a public records request for all of the then commissioners' emails, to which the public has a right. The public has a right to our email correspondence, and some people, take us up on that. And so, but the reason is because of the Sunshine Law, because everything we do is transparent. Everything we do is for the public, and the public has a right to know. So those commissioners at the time were baffled because no one had ever done that before, and concerned. But it was that editor's prerogative to just say, well, I just, because of the Sunshine Law, I want to see all of the commissioners' emails. So now I believe we are charging for the time that it takes if you make a public records request, which you can, we'll have to assess how much staff time it takes to process those, because the requests have become more frequent, that, the IS director has to go through them, the county council has to go through them. It's very expensive. So for the county, which is also your tax dollars at work. So now we charge for public records requests, but that's what the Sunshine Law is. And the heart of it, the concept of it, is very important. It means that we're not operating in a back room someplace doing things that you don't know about. You get to know about everything we're doing. So I think it's really important, and it's one of the reasons that local government is so dynamic, because you know what we're doing, and we're available to you. So I wanted to talk for a minute about the tourism banquet. Last Friday we had the Tillamook Coast Visitors Association tourism banquet. Senator Weber was there. That was lovely. I was seated with Doug and Patty Olson and Shana Peterson from KTIL. That was fun. There were lots of fabulous people there, including Commissioner Scar and her husband, Jim Scar, who won an award I'll let her tell you about. But it was really a wonderful event, and a celebration of community, and a celebration of the investments of TLT, the transient lodging tax. I think probably too often we just use the acronym TLT, but that's lodging tax, what visitors pay when they come here, the investments in TLT over the years, the 10 plus years that we've been getting it, because Tillamook County has elected to invest our TLT back into our community. So a lot of the work of the Tillamook Coast Visitors Association, the majority of it, is funded through TLT, and the county contracts with the Tillamook Coast Visitors Association to invest those funds back into the community. And so there was a lot of discussion about the things that have been done, the good community building things that have been done with that money over the last decade, and also some fabulous awards. So the Josie Farm, for example, won an award for their good work. That's DJ and Jamie Josie out on Wilson River Loop Road. They have the farm stand and a lot of other things. They participate in all the farmers markets, and they're just a wonderful family and a wonderful business. And again, Commissioner Scar's husband and Larry Oswald and his wife Cindy and the Twins Ranch, the city of Manzanita got a recognition. So it was really a celebration of community from north to south. It was well done, and I thought it was wonderful. And then the next morning was, as Senator Weber mentioned, also the town hall with Senator Merkley and Representative Bonamici, and it was very dynamic in the sense of how many people were there. the senator mentioned, I think, that maybe there were 450 people there. The gym was completely packed with the bleachers and seating across the floor, and Senator Weber was there, Representative Javdi was there, and a lot of local leaders at those town hall meetings. There are very often a local leaders meeting before the town hall meeting, just for a half an hour for us to ask questions. And so we were there, and we took advantage of that time. Senator Weber and I both asked questions and made comments for DJ Josie, who couldn't be there, but we'd seen him the night before at the tourism banquet, and he had asked us things he wanted to talk about, including his concerns about immigration law, that he thinks that immigration law should allow for people who are undocumented, who live here, who work here, who have good jobs, who have a stable history, to be able to apply to stay here. And we talked about the farming community and how much the farming community is dependent on their workforce. And DJ asked our federal legislators to work on that issue, and everyone agrees. So that was dynamic, and we talked about all kinds of things. One thing that was disturbing and new information is we heard from one of the school superintendents that the federal government has been sending letters telling districts to eliminate references to DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, to eliminate them from policies, and to eliminate DEI in order to continue to qualify for federal funding. So we all have opinions about that, but it's there was something new. The new thing was, just last week the school district had received a letter that was talking about DEI-A. So the federal government had added A to the end of DEI for access. And so our federal legislators didn't know about that, because there are so many things rolling out of Washington that are unexpected, and there's so much so fast that people are having trouble keeping up, even the legislators. So nobody had heard about that. But the question in the room was, is the federal government seriously saying that schools should not pay attention to access, that schools should not have in their policy that what access means, in case anybody doesn't know, is not only physical access for physical disabilities, but that's all of the work that we do to support students with learning disabilities, students who are developmentally disabled, etc. It's all of the work that we do to support students with special needs. And so there was the big question, like, seriously, is the government seriously saying that we can't focus on that in public schools? So that's a question, but DEI-A letters were received by local school districts last week. So their message to us was, continue to reach out to your legislators. It matters. It matters that people care about school issues. It matters that people care about veterans and Social Security and all of the things that it matters that people care about the Constitution. It matters, Senator or Representative Bonamici said, it matters that people care that Elon Musk has serious conflicts of interest and he's making tons of money off the government. So continue to reach out to your legislators. That was their message. It matters that we care, get involved, pay attention, and stick together. That was their other message, that, as a community, we have all kinds of power in our own community to take care of each other. So stick together and get involved. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. I will just quickly chime in that this week I will be leaving on Friday to head to Washington, D.C. with the National Association of Counties Conference, where we will be doing a fair amount of lobbying with our legislators, as well as learning more about how the federal government's actions specifically affect counties. Commissioner Bell listed out a few ways that our federal delegation talked about. There are many more, of course, because I think a lot of people don't think about how our government system is built. So our government system is built with the federal government being the broadest over the entire country. They pass laws related to the entire country. They receive federal tax dollars, which then come back to the states for services that relate to the laws that have been passed at the federal government. Well, the majority of the funds that come back to the state then further roll down to the counties and the cities to actually do the work. So I think that sometimes I remember at one of the town halls, somebody asked me, if we could just, as a county, can we just leave the state? Because we were talking about some contentious issues they felt at the state level. And the answer was no, we can't just leave the state. We are a subdivision of the state, and the state is a subdivision of the federal government. So there is one large, intricate, connected system of government across our nation, of which we and the cities are the folks on the ground where things actually happen. So it's important that we are engaging at the federal level, both you as constituents and those of us in local government, talking to our state and our federal folks and making sure they understand how the actions they take affect real people on the ground. Because for the most part, the federal folks who are passing those laws are not in touch with enough real people on the ground. So I'll leave it at that. I'll talk more when it's my turn. But Commissioner Fournier, I'll let you jump in next.
All right. Good morning. Thank you. Last week was a lot going on. I spent last 3 days of the week at County College in Salem at the Association of Oregon Counties. I call it Commissioner Kindergarten. It's basically all the newly elected commissioners from around the state. We gather and are being taught some of the ins and outs of county government, state government. We got to tour the Capitol, which was fantastic, which leads me to something I'm going to talk about today is I'll be testifying later this afternoon in support of a Senate Bill 536, and I wanted to talk about that today, what that does or what that proposes to do. Well, let me back up. Many of us already know that Dr. Paul Bitlinski, who is our medical examiner, has decided to finally retire after only working 45 years for this county. We tried to get him to stay. He's absolutely not going to stay anymore, and we're finding it very difficult to replace him. And actually, there is no replacing Dr. Bitlinski. I had the pleasure of working with him as a sheriff's deputy and a detective on many cases. People don't realize that we're required by law to have a medical examiner. And as of now, the law states it has to be a licensed physician. And that's proven to be more difficult to find a licensed physician who's willing to take on the duties, even as a contract medical examiner. Medical examiners, other states call them coroners, they have to investigate every unattended death. That means anybody that dies tragically in an accident. If they're outside of a care facility or a hospital, that would be an unattended death, and that's where we have medical examiners and deputy medical examiners that can go out there and investigate, make sure there's nothing hinky that went on there. So not only is it required, but it's a necessity to have that. Dr. B, as we call him, was tireless, has been tireless in his over 4 decades of service to this county. It's amazing. I've seen him come out in the middle of the night and stay for hours to help us process a scene. So anyways, we're having a hard time. He's been spending the last 6 months or a year trying to find comrades that may want to take over, and we're having difficulty. Well, Senate Bill 536, if passed, could give us some relief. And we're not the only county having this problem. A lot of counties are having to contract together with one doctor to do this. But Senate Bill 536 proposes to allow mid-level healthcare practitioners such as a licensed physician associate or a nurse practitioner to fill the role of the county medical examiner. Now, this is good news because we have more mid-level providers in this county, as do most rural counties than we do physicians. So this gives us a bigger pool to reach out to and ask if they're willing to take on that role. We have authorized a deputy medical examiner for the DA's office because the responsibility of the ME really falls on her office. So that person will be assisting the medical examiner. So our new medical examiner, whoever we end up getting, won't have to. So if any doctors or PAs or NPs are listening, please consider helping us out in the county by becoming a medical examiner. We will have a deputy there to help you process the scenes. You won't necessarily have to go out in the middle of the night like Dr. B has done. So I'm looking forward to testifying. That'll be my first time testifying at the legislature. So I feel like it's an important bill. I feel like it's a no-brainer. I've talked to my colleagues at the county college, and a lot of other counties are dealing with the same issue. So I think this is one of those, it just makes sense to pass it. So I'm hoping it's not going to die in committee and it'll move on. So that's all I've got. I just wanted to talk about that today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Testifying is a really important piece of our commissioner life, right? I mean, we advocate at the state level, we advocate at the federal level. So it's also important for each and every one of you as you're paying attention to what's going to come in front of the state legislature in particular, that you let us know what's important. We can help you with the OLA system and how to testify, and you can let us know things that are important to you that we should be testifying on. There are a couple of bills that I did not testify on, but I do know that passed through committee. Recently, one of them is a bill that's looking to fund fairgrounds as emergency centers. That is one that the Association of Oregon Counties came out in support of. We believe that in many of our counties, the majority of our counties, in fact, counties own the fairgrounds, and they are already designated as emergency centers, and we would really like to see some funding made available. Here in Tillamook County, we have been working through our emergency management through the State Office of Emergency Management to get grants. I believe we've gotten some light stanchions and generator to run those so that in the event of a power out emergency, we would have lighting at our fairgrounds. But there are a number of other things that we would certainly like to do to create that as the best evacuation center possible. So we'll hope that that's House Bill 2136, that it comes through to make that more possible. So again, there's lots of bills out there, but that was one that just crossed my desk recently, that was an important one for us. Couple quick things. So this weekend, I did not make it to the town hall. I was a participant in the Capes Relay, which was a really fun event, but I couldn't let down my other team members. And of course, the relay was scheduled before the town hall. So I trust that my fellow commissioner and state representatives did a good job of representing us. And I will look forward to connecting specifically with our Oregon delegation when I am in DC this next week. On Tuesday, we will be meeting with representatives and senators and their staff to talk specifically about Oregon related issues. And we will be doing that as a board of AOC commissioners. So look forward to that opportunity to continue to bring issues forward to our federal delegation. I did attend the tourism banquet on Friday night. To Commissioner Bell's point, it is a fabulous event, and it was really fun to get that review of what is happening with the transient lodging tax dollars that we are bringing in and how they are supporting our communities, both in how we expand the services available to tourists and how we expand the services and support the services available for everyone who lives here. That has always been the focus for Tillamook County and will continue to be the focus going forward. As she alluded to, so I will just speak to it quickly. My husband did receive an award that evening. He is a local fishing guide, and I laugh when I talk about this because I started a Facebook page for him when he started his business, and then I said, all right, you have to take this over. He'd never been on Facebook in his life and was an avowed Facebook hater, but I made him do it anyway, and then he got an award for his Facebook page. So I guess old dogs can learn new tricks, so I'll leave it at that. I've already talked about my big, information is that I'm headed to Washington, D.C. for the NACO conference. The one of the big things that I will be working on there is the biological opinion. We all know that it is pending and the damage that will come to Tillamook County is immense and that it does impact 31 of our 36 counties in Oregon. So my compatriots from the other counties will be joining me. We, because of the changes in the federal government, we find ourselves in an interesting situation where we're not exactly sure where the best leverage is applied because things, as we know, are not business as usual at the federal government. And as a result, we will be talking to basically anyone that we can find with a link to the federal government. So that will include some professional staff from both the Senate and House Majority Party agricultural committees, because we know the damage that this can cause to our farm community. And we're hoping we can get to them and get a positive conversation for them to understand at the federal level that they should be paying attention to this and perhaps being able to help us with a solution to this. We will be talking with staff from the president's office. We have some of the White House staff that will be at our conference that we will be connecting with to again share with them the concerns that we have related to this and its damage to the economy in Oregon. It's complete conflict with the Oregon land use system, just trying to really make folks at a high level in federal government aware of the challenges of this particular action to see if we can get some support. So that's going to be a big part of my work while I'm back there. When I get back on March 10th, we have an Association of Oregon Counties Day, so I will already be in Salem, but it is also Trails Advocacy Day in Salem. And we, of course, have the Salmonberry Trail that is being worked on very, very diligently in Tillamook County, as well as in Banks on the other side of the hill, because this is an 82-mile trail that is the old railroad bed that has been rail banked, which means it is set to be turned into a trail. The Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad will remain an active rail on our side in the areas where they provide tourist services, but the rest of this is intended to be a trail for anyone who didn't know. And we are advocating at the state level for funding from the legislature in this session. So for the Trails Advocacy Day, I know that the Salmonberry Trail Foundation is organizing a trip to Salem. And if you're interested in being a part of that, if you have time on March 10th, Dan Haig through the Visit Tillamook Coast is organizing a group to go over. I hope to leave my other meetings and jump into some of that trail advocacy while I'm there. The other trail that runs through Tillamook County that is equally important and is also seeking funding at the state legislature is the Oregon Coast Trail. So we did a project a couple of years ago to identify sections of that trail that were still gaps and work to close them. So that is also work to be done on Trail Advocacy Day. So if you're interested, Dan Haig at our Visit Tillamook Coast, we'll be organizing a group to go to Salem and do some advocacy around trails. So please feel free to join him if that sounds like a project you want to support. The last thing I will say is for those of you who are following the dialysis center here in Tillamook, I know that there's a lot of frustration that it has not yet been able to open. And I know Eric wasn't with us this morning, but I did have the opportunity to visit with him last week, as well as to make some connections to the governor's office. There are currently rules through the Oregon Health Authority that are slowing down the ability to open that center because it closed at one point. And so now it is subject to all of the new fire life safety rules, which includes some things that seem rather ludicrous. There needs to be 2 sinks and they're going to be about 7 feet apart. Just kind of doesn't make a lot of sense when you actually look at the physical environment. So we've made the connection between the governor's office and Adventist Health and their contractor who is working to open the center to see if we can streamline some of that. So we continue to apply pressure at the state level to try to make that happen faster. So again, just kind of a day to talk about advocacy and what we're here to do as your elected folks to make sure that good things happen in our community. So I'm going to end my part of this, and I believe that we were not expecting the mayor from Manzanita due to the power out, and I do not see her phone number here. So we will go ahead and work our way down. I also do not see the mayor from Rockaway this morning, and once again, with the power outs in North County, that is not a surprise. City of Garibaldi, is there anybody here today? Okay, for Bay City, I see City Manager McCall. Would you like to go next?
Yes, good morning. The only thing I have for you is remind everybody we will be having our regular coffee with the mayor and city manager tomorrow morning at 9:30. That's at the community hall. So invite anybody who's would like to come down, discuss some things with us, and have a cup of coffee and some great treats from the Bay City Kitchen to come by tomorrow at 9:30. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. And I believe that we also have City Manager Perkins from the city of Tillamook.
Good morning, everybody. I only
morning.
have a couple updates. Our city manager recruitment closes on this coming Monday, so if you know of anybody that's interested, please tell them to get their application in. So far, we've had, I think, a little over 40 applicants, so it's an in-demand position.
Wow.
As it should be. On the downside, we've had to close the restrooms in one of our parks due to significant vandalism and some fires being set inside. So unfortunately, we're having to close those. We just don't have the resources to repair it right now. And unfortunately, we may have to do that with some of our other parks. To help combat that, though, we're working on creating or re-energizing some neighborhood watch organizations and see if that can help us keep an eye on some of these things and put a stop to some of this behavior. It's just wrecks it for everyone. We came through the storm last night in good shape. So my public works folks tell me we didn't have any major blockages, just some debris around the city. So that's something we can all be happy about. And that's all I've got.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank KTIL for broadcasting, and we will adjourn this meeting at 8:46 a.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.